everyone, and welcome back to another Ableton tutorial. Big shout out everyone, all the new subscribers on Patreon. The support over there really does make a big difference. €5 per month, and all Patreon subscribers get to download every set from tutorials like this and sample packs that I've been making, and effects racks and instrument racks and all that sort of stuff. Big shout out everyone on YouTube who's liking, subscribing, commenting. Engagement does helps me keep making content like this. And what are we talking about with content like this? Well, you've got eyes. You probably read the title of this video before you clicked on it. Polyrhythmic phrases is something that I want to explore a little bit today, and how we can use those in a kind of a musical context. So you can hear what's going on in the background. I'm going to delete that, and we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to explore a concept, and then we're going to unpack that concept a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to begin by exploring the idea that harmony and rhythm are the same thing experienced on very different time scales. You might have seen Adam Neely's video about this. Other people have done videos about this. Very quick demonstration. So I have here a sample of a ballpoint pen clicking, and it sounds like this. It sounds like a pen, just somebody clicking a pen. We're going to turn that into a harmony. So I'm going to use Ableton Simpler instruments. Simpler, we're going to bring in a simpler. I'm going to just drag this ballpoint pen sample into the simpler. I'm just going to take this little bit right at the end. One last little clean click. And I've got a MIDI keyboard hooked up for today. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm pressing a C. Pressing a C on the MIDI keyboard. And you can hear the pen click. And if I hold it down, it runs through and it stops. And if I press a G on the keyboard, you hear a slightly different pitched version of that pen click, and it runs through and it stops. If I turn on loop, however, here in Simpler, now I'm just holding down the C again, and you can see that you can see the C is looping through. And if I hold down C and G at the same time, the perceptive amongst you will have noticed that sounds like a 3/2 polyrhythm. Now that is because the way that Simpler works, in order to play the different pitches of whatever sample that we drag into it, it simply speeds those things up or slows them down. And when you speed something up or you slow it down, it changes the pitch. Yeah, this is basically what we're going to explore today. So to continue this idea a little bit further, if I bring the end of the sample in, now you hear the polyrhythm basically still continuing but speeding up. Still a very, very, very fast polyrhythm. If I keep going like this, you can hear a fifth. Not particularly nice fifth, but we can hear a fifth. And as I slow that down, we get back to the polyrhythm. So that idea of essentially the same sample being played back and being able to create polyrhythms and harmony from it is what we're going to be exploring a little bit today. So that's enough of the ballpoint pen. Thank you for coming, ballpoint pen. Instead, I have here three very, very simple piano samples that I've made. One is just the note C, and it sounds like that. One is the same note C played 4 times, slightly differently. And one is the notes C and G played very simply like this. And this is what we're going to explore in Simpler today, how we can use these things to create very interesting polyrhythms. So if I bring in a new instance of Simpler here, I'm going to drag that first note C. And if I hold down C on my keyboard, MIDI keyboard, we just get the note C. And again, it stops. But again, we turn on loop. And we have that now C, lovely C looping. And again, if I play a C and a G, get a very, very slow 3/2 polyrhythm being played there. Again, if I just make the sample shorter, we're going to get the same thing, just quicker. If I was to play a C and a C an octave up, what we know about frequency and ratios and these sorts of things is that to go up an octave, you need to double the frequency. For instance, if you're playing an A, which is something like 440 if you're a standard Western tuning, if you want to play an A an octave above that, it's going to be 880 hertz. So again, let's try that. We have an A. it's approximately 440. And then if I play an A above that, that's going to be approximately 880. So that's going to create a polyrhythm of 2 against 1, essentially. And that's because it takes the top sample only half as long to run the length of it as it does for the bottom sample if I was to go an octave below. And if I bring the octave up in again, so you can hear how, as we're changing the pitch, it's changing how long it takes the sample to go through. Now, if we think about some ideas to do with the way that these ratios worked, I was exploring particularly with the perfect fifth, which is a 3 against 2 ratio. And for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to dive into the differences in ratios between just intonation and Pythagorean and equal temperament and all of that. If you're interested in that, explore it. It's fantastic. I find it really interesting myself. For the purposes of today and simplicity, we're going to just go with the idea of just intonation. That a perfect fifth is approximately a 3 against 2, that a perfect octave is a 2 against 1. But if we explore other things, for instance, a perfect fourth, this is a 3 against 4 polyrhythm. So again, I'm just going to play a C and an F. That's a 3 against 4 polyrhythm. That's what happens when we play a perfect fourth. If I was to play a major third, this is a 5 against 4 polyrhythm. So I'm going to just hold down C and E. So you can hear how very quickly from this simplicity, quite complex things evolve. This is an idea that I got from Brian Eno. I love Brian, huge fan of Brian Eno, his music and his thinking about music. And a big part of Eno's music is that from very simple things, complexity can arrive very, very, very quickly. So let's explore that. So I mentioned that I had like this other sample here of a C and a G being played. So if I was to drag this in here, so now I'm just going to hold down the note C on my keyboard, and you see the sample running through. I think we're an octave high. This was it. Yeah, this was it. And you see it just playing through the sample. Now, if we take that idea of playing, holding down the MIDI notes, C and G at the same time, then we'll get this whole sample being played through at the same time, starting on a C. So we're going to have the notes C and G as they are originally here. And then when I play the G, we're going to get the notes G, and this second note here will be a perfect fifth up from that. So that's going to be a D. And the speed at which it plays that is going to be 3 against 2 compared to the speed against which it plays the other one. So very quickly we get these beautiful textures evolving. Now I'm going to see what happens if we program some things in. Now the reason I chose a perfect fifth here is because then almost every single note that we're going to play in a C major scale, the perfect fifth up from that is also in a C major scale. So the C and the perfect fifth up is G. It's in a C major scale. D, perfect fifth up is A, it's part of a C major scale. E and a B, F and a C, a G and a D, an A and an E. The only one that isn't is the B, and we get an F sharp, perfect fifth up from that, which turns it into sort of a C Lydian scale, which is also a really nice sound. So let's just program in 2 chords. I'm going to make a 2-bar loop here. Again, 2-bar loop. We want to MIDI here, and yeah, if I program in, we're going to take a C and a G, and then what happens if we turn that into a C and an F? So this is essentially sort of a G to an F chord, a 1-4 progression, as if you like. And let's see what that sounds like. I think that might be nicer if that's twice as long. This is nice. Okay, let's see what happens if we add some more harmony into that. So let's let's add an E in here. Let's add the A in here. Now we're sort of getting these lovely unfolding rhythms because of all these different polyrhythms that are happening on top of each other. So here we have three polyrhythms happening. We have between the C and the G, we have a 3 against 2. Between the C and the E, we have a 4 against 5. But then, of course, between the E and the G, that becomes then actually a 5 against 6 polyrhythm. So we have these beautiful unfolding things happening. We can take this one step further even. Like, what happens if we start this actually not on the beat? I mean, not at the start of the bar. Let's move these across. What about if we put this in here, actually? Let's switch that like that. Yeah. These could be nice if they then go all the way through like this as well. Yeah. So, and again, because we chose the perfect fifth as our source sample up here, we can also try some minor harmonies. So that this might sound a little bit strange initially, but let's go back to something like this. Again, it's a very simple 1 to 4. So C minor to an F minor, and let's make those go all the way. Where have you gone, legato? There we go. Let's have a listen to that. Really nice. Okay, so now I'm just gonna bring this like this because I kind of like that. And, you know, if you wanted to take these textures a bit further, the sound that you heard at the start of this video, I did a little bit of processing on it. So I used, I think, the spectral time. And this is going to be really nice. We're going to, oh, no, not spectral time. No, spectral resonator. Which doesn't sound that nice to begin with. But the spectral resonator allows us to take MIDI. We're going to take MIDI from the channel itself, which is this one. And we're going to put it on poly. So this now allows the spectral resonator to play chords. Lovely. If we turn up the decay here, maybe let's turn this to granular actually. Lovely. Let's bring that dry wet down. Really nice. We're adding sort of a little background layer to what's going on. And then I think what's going to be nice is actually if we add a little synthesizer on top of this. So I'm going to group that. I'm just going to add an operator in here. So of course the operator is only going to take the incoming MIDI notes. So the operator is only going to take these notes. It's not going to play all of these polyrhythms. But that allows us to sort of really highlight those incoming sounds. Oh, calm down. Shush. We just want you to be like something like this. Yeah, okay. And I think a nice triangle wave would be nice. Yeah. Yeah, something like this. Let's add a bit of the envelope. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, let's make that a bit longer. Let's make this a bit longer. Too much on this envelope. Yeah, lovely. Let's bring you down. Let's put this up an octave. Very nice. Let's put that out wide, I think. Let's use... Oh, if you haven't discovered Ableton's Align delay effect, this is just really nice. It adds a millisecond delay between the left and the right signal, which allows something to become incredibly, well, true stereo. So now I've made this sort of instrument, which is really nice. I'm just going to press stop on that. And it's just really nice to play with. So I'm going to... So now I'm just playing on the MIDI keyboard, just holding down notes every now and then, adding a new note. And it just creates these waves. It's really, really beautiful. So that's the basic idea. Obviously, you can really, I don't need to tell you this, you're adults, really experiment with the kind of samples that you're using. Obviously, I just use these very, very basic piano samples in here. You can try more complex things. The more notes you have, the more dissonance you're going to get, of course, as those notes gets transposed up and down, but then also the more complex the polyrhythms will become. You might remember this rhythm was incredibly simple to begin with, and all of a sudden it becomes this lovely evolving thing. So there you go. Thanks for joining today. Patreon members, this is available to download now. See you next time.